Officials in Kerrville, the town devastated just a year ago by floods, today are urging people to shelter in place as water rises. Roads across the area completely underwater. The nearby Guadalupe River out of control, rising right now. Thanks for being with us this midday. I'm Kara Soul. We're going to get to meteorologist Colin Myers in a moment, but first, the latest from the Texas Hill Country from Rena Roy.
Life-threatening flooding in central Texas today, with torrential rain prompting water rescues and evacuations in Texas Hill Country.
Highway 7, the 6200 block just before Boardwalk is completely impassable. There's about two or 3 foot of water, and it's rising.
The National Weather Service issuing a flash flood emergency, including a large and deadly flood wave along the Guadalupe River around Kerrville. Parts of the Guadalupe River rising more than 30 feet in 4 hours before cresting. The conditions expected to be similar to that catastrophic river flood on July 4th, 2025 that killed more than 130 people, including dozens of children at Camp Mystic. Rain falling at about 2 to 4 inches per hour in an area already saturated by wet weather. In Uvalde, more than a half year's worth of rain fell in the last 48 hours. Nearby in Ingram, an animal rescue still trying to recover from last year's flood, telling ABC News its animals are safe, but it lost all of its structures overnight for the second time.
It took everything again. I hate this. I'm so tired of this.
In the San Antonio suburb of Bernie, this woman rescued from the roof of her car. Floodwaters barreling through the streets, overtaking neighborhoods. Just north of San Antonio, at least one tornado confirmed. Tornado warnings also issued in the Uvalde area.
Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Colin Myers now with us to talk more about the flooding. And I mean, this is all I'm seeing in my news feeds today is video after video of just devastation.
Yeah, and it is a generational event. Unfortunately, there was one last year as well.
Right.
It doesn't mean this is uncommon. It is more rare, but it has happened back in 1979. The river we're watching right now, the critical one last year was the Guadalupe you just saw. Now it's the Pedernales, and this one is a little bit further to the north.
Okay.
Spots like Gillespie County, that's Fredericksburg over to Johnson City. They've seen a 32-foot rise in 4 hours this morning. They've had a foot of rain since midnight on top of what they received yesterday. So that whole watershed, the Weather Service just issuing the strongest wording they can, saying that water is moving in. It's like a wall of water moving down the river. So here's the setup over Central Texas. You can see Austin on the right side of your screen. You can see the upper level low sitting here south of I-10. And this continues to stream in. It started getting more active in the early morning hours this morning. First, there are 2 flash flood emergencies. These are designated PDS, or particularly dangerous situation. It's the highest level flood warning that can be issued. This is it. Pedernales River over 1 foot since midnight into the whole watershed, highest level in almost 50 years. And that's going to continue to move downstream. So that is a life-threatening situation. It's a very dangerous situation. And the Guadalupe still also increased, now not to the level it did a year ago. This is in Kerr County. There's Kerrville. Camp Mystic is right down here. That happened 1 year ago. 4 to 12 inches of rain have fallen since midnight. Some spots near a foot, just south and west right here. The river, we do believe, has crested. Now, more rain is still falling, but that is some short-term good news. So the main issue is the flash flood emergency over the northern river, the Pedernales. The whole setup, what's happening here, is multiple tiny storm systems are rotating around one big upper level low, one big storm system in West Texas. It's a parade, if you will. It's like planets around the sun. They're all following each other, and this new one arrived this morning. The one from yesterday is up west of us right now, but incredible rainfall amounts, unfortunately spots near 2 feet. For us, we could see a residual shower or storm up to the north of this, but so far, they've been dying off. Why? We have a lot of sinking air that's not allowing evaporation to occur. But still watching a few cells. Coming up, we'll show you timecast and what my latest thoughts are on that. More on our forecast in Dallas up in a few minutes, Kara.
Well, you can watch live coverage of the situation in Central and Southwest Texas right now on our WFA streaming channel. It is on demand. Very interesting and great insight from our stations across the state. If you want to help, the one thing needed most is money. Community Foundation of Texas Hill Country has started a donation fund to support folks on the new round of flooding. You can scan the QR code. We have it up there on your screen. We're following a developing story this midday, a deadly house fire in Fort Worth that broke out around 3 o'clock this morning at a house in East Fort Worth. And Chris Sadeghi has been on the scene all morning, learning the very latest.
The last of the fire engines left at around 9 o'clock this morning after they spent 7 hours here in front of this home where a man died in an early morning house fire. They spent much of that time looking through the home to investigate a cause, but the inside of the house did not make it easy. Around 2 in the morning, Fort Worth Fire got the call and said the smoke and flames could be seen from the front of the home when they arrived. When firefighters got inside, they said they found 2 people inside the home, a man and a woman whom they helped escape and began treating them here on the scene. Unfortunately, the man passed away and the woman was flown to a hospital. We're not sure yet the extent of her injuries, but a spokesperson for the department described this house as a hoarder home with lots of objects and obstacles impeding hallways and walkways, and that made it difficult to fight the fire and rescue those inside.
The more stuff that's in there, the more stuff that's burning, the higher the heat. Like I said, the more stuff that we're having to push through to get through, that it makes it more of a physical job for us to do.
And 2 firefighters also suffered injuries while fighting the fire and trying to make the rescues. We're told they were treated here and are expected to be okay. The arson investigators and also ATF agents were here as a part of the investigation. That is standard anytime the cause of a fire is unknown. I'm Chris Sadeghi, now back to you.
Well, Dallas rapper Yella Beezy is expected back in court this hour. The rapper, whose real name is Marquise Conway, is accused of orchestrating a 2020 murder for hire of fellow rapper Mo3. His defense requested today's hearing. They're trying to stop rap songs from being submitted into evidence, saying they could unfairly influence a jury. President Donald Trump plans a primetime address tonight, and we're learning new details about what he may discuss. Here's ABC's Karen Hua.
It's really, really big news. It doesn't get bigger, because without free and fair elections, you don't have a country.
Sources tell Reuters the speech is expected to reveal intelligence claiming that China had the ability to interfere in the 2020 presidential election and that Beijing may have gained access to U.S. voter data. The White House overnight not commenting. An intelligence community assessment back in 2021 found no indication any foreign actor altered the 2020 vote. Trump's address tonight comes a day after his nominee for National Intelligence Director, Jay Clayton, faced a confirmation hearing on Capitol Hill and refused to say outright that Joe Biden won the 2020 election.
Just asking a really simple question. Who won the 2020 election?
As I said to you, we went through our processes, and Joe Biden became the president of the United States.
Answer the question. Who won the 2020 election?
I have answered the question.
Answer it. What is your answer?
I've given you my answer.
What is your answer? Isn't it humiliating to be unable to answer this question, to have to indulge the president's delusions?
Also on Capitol Hill, the president's attorney general nominee, Todd Blanche, who previously served as Trump's personal attorney, was grilled by lawmakers from both parties.
Are you and President Trump friends?
I'm his lawyer, was his lawyer, and now I'm the deputy attorney general.
A single Republican no vote could sink Blanche's nomination. Blanche also faced survivors of sex offender Jeffrey Epstein in the hearing room, as Democrats pressed Blanche to meet with them and to answer for the botched file release that exposed survivors' personal information.
Any mistake that we made should not have been made.
Karen Hua, ABC News, Washington.
Well, Trump's address is set for 8 o'clock our time, and you can watch it live on our streaming platform, on WFA's streaming platform. New today, Democratic Senate candidate here in Texas, James Tallarico, is challenging his Republican opponent, Ken Paxton, to 3 televised debates. 3 Texas media groups, including WFAA and our Techna stations, have invited both Tallarico and Paxton to statewide debates. Tallarico accepted all 3 invitations minutes ago. Paxton's campaign responded saying, quote, "Of course we are going to debate James Tallarico." They did not mention how many debates or if any of them would be televised options. We're still waiting for funeral arrangements for South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham. Fellow Senator Tim Scott said they are delayed until at least next week as planners work to accommodate national and international leaders who want to attend. Senator Graham died earlier last weekend of an aortic dissection, an unusual disease that is challenging to treat. Our medical expert, Dr. David Winter with Baylor Scott & White, joining me this midday to talk about this condition, how to prevent it if you can, and how to treat it. Dr. Winter, good to see you again. So what exactly is an aortic dissection?
Yeah, the aorta, I've got my buddy here to show, is the major artery that takes the blood from the heart and takes it to the rest of the body, the head, the neck, the brain, the intestines, the arms, the legs. And when that aorta is diseased, that's when you can have a problem. Now, I want to use this paper towel roll to show if this is the aorta, there are 3 layers to the aorta: the inner layer, the middle layer, and the outer layer. And if the inner layer gets a little tear in it, then blood can go down a false channel down here and block blood flow to the rest of the body, to wherever the arteries that are coming off of it do. So it's a disease of the aorta where there's a small rent and then a dissection down the middle of the aorta. Horrible disease.
So what are the underlying causes? You mentioned disease, but what are the underlying causes of a dissection?
Yeah, any disease that affects the aorta, atherosclerosis, where you get calcified plaques in the aorta, that can cause that. Long-standing uncontrolled hypertension can do that. There's some genetic diseases, Marfan syndrome, Ehlers-Danlos syndromes, and other unusual diseases. It tends to run in some people's families, but again, it's a very rare disease. We don't see very much of this, thank goodness, because it's very difficult to diagnose and also difficult to treat.
So how can it be prevented?
Yeah, if you are prone to this, if it tends to run in your family, you want to make sure your cholesterol is controlled and your blood pressure is controlled. And you might even tell your doctor so they can do periodic tests, CAT scans, chest x-rays, see if the aorta is starting to expand a bit. Sometimes that's the first sign of it. So very rare disease, but if it's in your family, you need to have somebody in charge of that, watching you, making sure that your risk factors, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, are under very good control.
So having those under control, is that part of the treatment plan?
It is, although the treatment depends on where the rent, the tear is. The top part, if it's up in the top part, type A we call that, that's the most common and the most serious disease. There it usually rips open and goes very, very quickly. In fact, 25% of people die within the first day, another 50% by the second day. To treat that, you need to get in to see a doctor and then to a surgeon very quickly, and they can do some repair work there. Surgical procedures need to be done, but it's got to be done very quickly. Type B is down in the lower part. This does cause less damage, and some of that can be handled with medicine, bringing that blood pressure down, cholesterol down, or even putting a stent in. So type B is not quite as bad. Type A is a bad one, but overall a very bad disease. But again, very, very rare. The main symptom is horrible, ripping, terrible chest pain, pain like you've never had before. If you get any of that, call to your emergency room right away. Let them check you out. But again, very rare. Sorry it happened to Dr. Graham, or Mr. Graham. He was a wonderful, wonderful person, I understand, regards to his family. But be careful with aortic dissections, bad disease, hard to treat, hard to diagnose early.
Yeah, I think the last time we really talked about it publicly, at least from what I can remember, is when there was an actor years ago, John Ritter, who had the same thing. So yeah, definitely don't hear about it very often.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Dr. Winter, we appreciate it.
Thank you, good to be with you.
In other health news, growing alarm over cyclosporiasis, the severe stomach bug surging across the country right now. According to the CDC, there is nearly 7,000 confirmed and probable cases in 34 states, including here in Texas. Now, the most are in Michigan, where health officials say they're seeing about 500 to 600 cases a day. Michigan health officials say the outbreak could be tied to lettuce or salad greens.